Hi everyone, this is Dr. Cheryl Selman, and thank you for joining me today. I wanted to use this opportunity to share with you a topic that I personally am very passionate about, and that has to do with the dangers regarding electromagnetic radiation. For the past 10 years, I have been researching, writing, and lecturing about this problem and warning people about the dangers associated with our favorite devices, like our cell phones, and what to do about it. Recently, there's been a study that was released. It's another important study that provides evidence that cell phones actually do cause harm, and we do need to be protected. And in this regard, I thought it would be really very special and very important to have a conversation with Alfred Hanser, who can help us understand more about this issue. Alfred is a well-respected and successful entrepreneur. He is also considered an expert in the field of electromagnetic radiation and solutions. He also is a successful radio guest, TV guest. He appears at many scientific conferences, and he is the co-CEO of a wellness company called GiaWellness, a company that I personally am involved with and using their technologies for protecting myself, my family, my friends, and my patients from electromagnetic radiation. So it's my great pleasure to have Alfred with us today. Hello, Alfred.
Well, thank you for having me, Dr. Selman.
Well, it's great having you here because I really respect your experience, expertise in this area. And I thought we would begin with the latest study that was released on May 26th that had to do with the National Toxicology Program's $25 million study. So let's begin there. What was the study? What did they find?
Well, it was a multi-year study. It was the largest one of its kind over the years, and they found in laboratory mice and laboratory rats an increase in both brain tumors and brain cancer, as well as in heart tumors and heart cancer after exposure to radiation from cell phones. And that's obviously very, very concerning because, as we know in science and in medicine, it usually starts with laboratory animals that they expose to different toxins, and then they see what's happening on that end, and then it usually transitions to human studies. And so while this study was very important, no doubt, and while it got a lot of publicity around the world, as it should, that there is now a link between radiation and cancers and tumors, there's many other studies already that have been out for a while. And I think most importantly, from our perspective, a meta-analysis of 100 different studies that have been conducted all over the world that look for commonalities between study findings. And those studies were conducted actually by monitoring humans. And so when you look at a meta-analysis and you see that there is eye problems and tumors and cancers, but also everyday negative impact of this toxin of radiation on our bodies, even down to the digestive system and the circulatory system and your respiratory system and your stress management ability, your immune system strength. It's oxidative stress, aging even. So whether you go really superficial or really deep, the reality is that radiation is the fastest growing toxin of the 21st century, the fastest growing toxin that mankind has ever been exposed to. I read a statistic that we're now exposed to about 100 million times the amount of radiation that our great-grandparents were exposed to, and our bodies haven't had time to catch up yet from an evolution perspective to deal with it all. So these are very, very concerning findings, whether it's on laboratory animals or it's meta-analysis and studies that have been conducted by monitoring human cell phone use and human radiation exposure for many, many years. Where times are changing and people are waking up to the fact that they need to do something about their wireless lifestyle and their interactions with wireless devices. Sure.
So I think the evidence is clearly in. People can argue, the industry can argue. I did see a study that actually looked at the outcomes from studies that were government-sponsored or industry-sponsored rather, and independently sponsored. So, of course, the industry-sponsored studies, 70% of them showed no harm, while the independent studies had the exact opposite conclusion. So I think we need to be seeking truthful information And that's why we're having this conversation, because the problem is so huge and it's affecting all of us. When I began doing this, this area of research, even teenagers were not able to use cell phones. It was too expensive for them. So now we're seeing every 10-year-old who's in a third grade class is having a phone. They go to smart schools, so they're living in and going to work in schools and studying in an environment that everything is wireless. And of course we have the infants and the baby monitors, and we have pregnant women on the phone. So everyone is now being exposed, all ages, and the most vulnerable are showing effects. So okay, so I hope that's really clear for people, if they understand that we definitely have a major public health crisis going on, and that exposure to the EMS is considered a poison, a toxin that we're exposed to that's doing harm. So what do we do? This is a big question. What do we do? When I ask many experts about this, the standard pat answer is, well, reduce your use of your phone, don't hold it up to your head, or use a headset. And I find all those answers are really illogical, actually, and they're not going to protect us at all. So we need to find something that will actually help us, since we're not going to be giving up our technologies. And even if we did give up our cell phone, we are living in these fields that are penetrating us 24/7. There is no longer any escape.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And while I certainly appreciate experts pointing towards a list of things that people can do, reduce your radiation exposure, as you said, or one of the ones that I've heard that made me actually laugh a little bit was, well, go back to wired, like don't use wireless, go back to a plug-in phone and maybe a pager, or maybe your answering machine at home. The reality is this. Reducing exposure is a great first step, no doubt about it. Moving your phone away from your head is a great step if you can do that. But the reality is we all have patterns of behavior. And the hardest thing for people to do once you're used to convenience is breaking a pattern of behavior. And so what you have to do in terms of getting people to living a healthier wireless lifestyle is give them solutions and approaches that do not require a dramatic change in behavior. And that is really what we're trying to do with our wellness approach, with Gia Wellness and the inspired energy solutions that we bring to the market, is saying, listen, we can't swim against the tide. Wireless isn't going to go away. People are not going to go back to plugging in their home phones again, and they're not going to be using the phone that used to hang on the wall in the 1960s. It's not going to happen. So how can we get people to use wireless technology in a sensible way? How can we make sure that we can give them solutions, approaches, and intelligent suggestions as to how to thrive in an electric-polluted environment? Because the infrastructure isn't going away. And you said it very, very beautifully. Even if you were to give up your cell phone, your cordless phone, your wireless router today, you're still surrounded by the very infrastructure that powers all those devices for 7 billion people on the planet. So we're being inundated with it. There's no escaping it. So we have to find ways to intelligently interact with it and to strengthen our body's resilience to it. And that's what starts on the outside with your body's biofield, the energy envelope that all of us walk around in. And it's called Qi in the Far East, and it's called the biofield in North America. But it's there. It's an energetic presence that every single human being, every organism has. And we have to protect and reinforce that first. And then it goes to other physiological aspects that you need to strengthen, reinforce, properly hydrate, nourish, and energize in order for the body to be as resilient as it possibly can be to this assault that we're experiencing every single day. Cheryl?